The United States operates 11 nuclear-powered supercarriers, while the rest of the entire world combined has exactly 0 vessels of this magnitude. America's F-15 Eagles maintain an undefeated air combat record of 104 kills to 0 losses, and these are considered practically obsolete. Welcome to War Swap, where we analyze the world's most explosive military scenarios. Hit subscribe for epic battles. A single Ohio-class submarine carries enough firepower to eliminate 160 different cities in a matter of minutes. The Atlantic and Pacific Oceans create 1,000-mile-wide moats that no invading force has ever successfully crossed to conquer America. In a nuclear exchange, nobody wins. The aftermath would plunge Earth into nuclear winter, potentially ending human civilization as we know it. The United States Air Force operates over 5,200 aircraft, more air power than most nations possess in their entire military arsenal. The rest of the world could mobilize over 20 million active military personnel, creating an overwhelming numerical advantage. Any naval invasion force would need to cross 5,000 miles of ocean while being hunted by American submarines designed specifically to sink invasion fleets. The D-Day invasion crossed just 100 miles. Now imagine that operation across 5,000 miles of open ocean against a superior defender. Cyber warfare represents the invisible battlefield where attacks on infrastructure could cripple a nation before conventional forces even engage. In prolonged conflict, the question becomes whether America's technology can overcome the world's combined industrial production capacity. China controls over 80% of rare earth mineral production, creating a critical vulnerability in America's technology supply chain. Silicon Valley's innovation ecosystem produces breakthrough technologies in AI, quantum computing, and advanced materials that could provide decisive advantages. This coalition would require India and Pakistan, Israel and Iran, Turkey and Greece to cooperate, which is virtually impossible. The most likely outcome is a catastrophic stalemate, where neither side achieves victory, only mutual destruction. Trident missiles launching from submarines beneath the ocean represent the unstoppable second strike capability that ensures mutual destruction. Coordinated cyber attacks could target America's electrical grid, causing cascading blackouts that shut down critical infrastructure nationwide. Special operations forces could infiltrate borders and conduct sabotage operations, forcing America to dedicate massive resources to homeland security. Each carrier battle group includes destroyers, cruisers, and submarines, creating a defensive perimeter spanning hundreds of miles. On one side, the American flag. On the other, the combined flags of 194 nations representing over 7.5 billion people. Hypersonic missiles travel so fast that traditional defense systems cannot track or intercept them before impact. American civilians own over 400 million firearms, creating a massive armed population capable of sustained resistance. Global supply chains would collapse immediately, cutting off essential goods and materials that modern economies depend upon. Inside the Pentagon war room, military strategists run countless simulations of this exact nightmare scenario. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber can penetrate enemy airspace completely undetected, invisible to radar systems below. ICBM silos across the American heartland hold missiles ready to launch at a moment's notice in response to attack. Advanced military drones operate in coordinated swarms, overwhelming defenses with sheer numbers and autonomous targeting. Control of strategic choke points like the Strait of Hormuz could strangle global oil supplies and cripple economies. A high-altitude electromagnetic pulse could fry electronics across an entire continent, sending civilization back to the pre-digital age. Rapid military mobilization would see tanks, aircraft, and troops deploying worldwide in the largest military operation in history. Cutting undersea fiber optic cables would sever global internet connectivity, disrupting communications and financial systems instantly. Space-based weapons could strike targets anywhere on Earth within minutes, representing the ultimate high ground in warfare. The US-Mexico border would transform into a heavily fortified defensive line, with surveillance and military forces controlling all access. Chinese, Russian, and European forces coordinating together would create a coalition with complementary capabilities across all warfare domains. Patriot missile defense systems would work around the clock, intercepting incoming missiles to protect American cities and military installations. Virginia-class attack submarines hunt silently in the depths, virtually impossible to detect until they strike enemy vessels. The collapse of the US dollar as global reserve currency would fundamentally reshape international financial power overnight. American factories would shift to wartime production, churning out weapons and equipment at maximum industrial capacity. Destroying GPS satellites would eliminate precise navigation, crippling military operations and civilian infrastructure that depend on it. Naval mines deployed across shipping lanes would create deadly underwater barriers, blocking all maritime trade routes. Electromagnetic railguns fire projectiles at hypersonic speeds, delivering devastating kinetic energy without traditional explosives. Aerial refueling tankers enable continuous bombing missions across vast distances without ever needing to land. Deep underground command bunkers protected by blast doors would house military leadership during nuclear exchanges. Amphibious assaults against defended American coastlines would result in catastrophic casualties for any attacking force. Economic warfare would target food supplies, causing mass shortages and starvation as agricultural systems collapse. C-130 gunships provide devastating close air support, their side-mounted cannons unleashing precision destruction on ground targets. A complete naval blockade would require hundreds of warships maintaining positions across both oceans simultaneously. THAAD missile defense systems intercept ballistic missiles in their terminal phase, protecting cities from nuclear attack. Predator and Reaper drones conduct precision strikes with Hellfire missiles, eliminating targets from thousands of miles away. Cyber warriors battle in digital space, defending critical networks while launching attacks against enemy infrastructure. The B-21 Raider represents the next generation of stealth bombers, virtually invisible to all known detection systems. Targeting energy infrastructure in coordinated strikes could cripple industrial capacity and military operations worldwide. Electromagnetic catapults launch fighter jets from carrier decks every few seconds, projecting air power anywhere on the planet. Navy SEALs conduct covert infiltration missions behind enemy lines, gathering intelligence and sabotaging critical targets. The Moab, the largest non-nuclear bomb, creates a massive fireball capable of destroying everything within its blast radius. Aegis combat systems track hundreds of threats simultaneously, prioritizing and engaging targets with deadly efficiency. Apache attack helicopters provide devastating close air support, their advanced weapon systems eliminating ground targets with precision. Electromagnetic pulse shielding could protect critical infrastructure from attacks designed to fry electronic systems. Abrams tanks provide overwhelming firepower in urban combat, their armor and weapons dominating any battlefield. Strategic petroleum reserves hold millions of barrels of oil, ensuring fuel supplies during extended conflict. Swarms of cruise missiles launched from multiple platforms overwhelmed defenses through sheer numbers and coordinated timing. Mountain ranges provide natural defensive barriers, allowing smaller forces to control vast territories through strategic positioning. Autonomous underwater vehicles conduct reconnaissance and deploy weapons without risking human lives in hostile waters. F-35 Lightning fighters can operate from both traditional runways and amphibious assault ships through vertical takeoff capabilities. Spy satellites provide real-time intelligence with resolution clear enough to identify individual vehicles and personnel. China's rapid naval expansion includes modern destroyers and carriers specifically designed to challenge American Pacific dominance. Russian air defense systems represent some of the most advanced in the world, capable of engaging multiple targets simultaneously. European military forces bring sophisticated technology, from French nuclear capabilities to German industrial production capacity. Israel's Iron Dome demonstrates near-perfect interception rates, providing a model for modern missile defense system. Japanese and South Korean naval forces operate advanced Aegis destroyers with cutting-edge radar and weapons systems. Chinese steel production exceeds American output, providing the raw materials necessary for sustained military production. Semiconductor manufacturing facilities produce the microchips essential for all modern military systems and technology. The Normandy invasion required unprecedented planning and resources to cross just 100 miles against a weakened enemy. The narrow English Channel made D-Day possible. The vast Pacific Ocean makes similar operations nearly impossible. Global supply chain collapse would halt the flow of goods, causing shortages of everything from food to medicine. Financial markets would crash as investors panic, wiping out trillions in wealth within hours of conflict beginning. The NSA's signals intelligence capabilities provide unprecedented insight into adversary communications and intentions worldwide. CIA operatives gather human intelligence through covert operations, providing information technology alone cannot obtain. Reconnaissance satellites orbit continuously, providing constant surveillance of potential threats and military movements globally. America's alliance network, built over decades, provides military, intelligence, and economic advantages that multiply American power. India and Pakistan's ongoing conflict over Kashmir makes military cooperation between them virtually impossible. Israel and Iran's fundamental enmity ensures they could never effectively coordinate in any coalition operation. Even NATO allies like Turkey and Greece have territorial disputes that would undermine coalition unity. World War II allies disagreed constantly despite facing existential threats, showing how difficult coalition warfare truly is. Coordinating militaries with different languages, equipment, and doctrines creates chaos rather than effective cooperation. Translation errors and miscommunication would plague any coalition attempting to coordinate complex military operations. Eventually, both sides would recognize the futility of continued conflict and pursue negotiated settlements. An armed American civilian population would make occupation nearly impossible. Through sustained guerrilla resistance, with over 400 million firearms in civilian hands, America possesses an unmatched capacity for popular resistance. Guerrilla warfare in America's forests and mountains would bleed occupying forces through constant ambushes and attacks. Resistance movements would emerge in occupied territories, conducting sabotage and undermining enemy control. Eventually, exhaustion would set in as casualties mount and neither side achieves meaningful victory. Coalition members would gradually withdraw as costs exceed benefits and national interests diverge. Massive casualties on both sides would leave only grief and destruction, with no strategic victory achieved. Ultimately, diplomacy and cooperation prove far more beneficial than the catastrophic costs of total war. Silicon Valley's tech giants drive innovation in AI and computing that provides America with technological superiority. American research universities produce breakthrough discoveries in quantum computing, biotechnology, and advanced materials. American military culture encourages initiative and adaptation, allowing forces to respond quickly to changing conditions. Quantum computers could break enemy encryption and solve complex problems impossible for traditional systems. Artificial intelligence and machine learning provide advantages in everything from targeting to logistics optimization. American entrepreneurial culture creates constant innovation, developing new solutions to emerging challenges. National Reconnaissance Office satellites provide intelligence capabilities unmatched by any other nation. Long-term guerrilla resistance could continue for years, making occupation unsustainable for any foreign power. Nuclear war would collapse modern civilization, reverting survivors to pre-industrial conditions without technology or infrastructure. Nuclear winter would destroy agriculture worldwide, causing crops to fail and threatening billions with starvation. Global temperatures would plunge by 20 to 30 degrees, creating climate catastrophe that lasts for years. Medical systems would be overwhelmed responding to the aftermath, with emergency personnel mobilizing in hazmat gear. Infrastructure failures would cascade across systems, causing blackouts and service disruptions that spread globally. Billions would face starvation as agricultural production collapses and food distribution systems fail worldwide. Frozen conflicts with permanent defensive positions could last indefinitely, with neither side able to advance. America's internal communication and supply lines provide decisive advantages when defending home territory. Defending forces on home soil benefit from local knowledge, civilian support, and superior logistics. Occupying forces would be spread impossibly thin across America's vast territory, unable to maintain control. Peace negotiations would eventually become necessary as both sides recognize the impossibility of total victory. Global trade networks create economic interdependence that makes all nations reliant on international cooperation. International partnerships in research, technology, and culture provide benefits far exceeding the costs of conflict. Democratic nations share common values that make cooperation natural and conflict counterproductive. Economic prosperity grows through trade and cooperation, benefiting all nations more than warfare ever could. Diplomatic solutions through international institutions prevent conflicts from escalating to catastrophic warfare. Global civilization thrives through cooperation, making this scenario of total war virtually impossible in reality. Subscribe to War Swap for more epic military analysis and hypothetical battle scenarios.